Alex Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Chris.
Lee.
And still no Dan.
No,
he's still not here.
No, we've sent him away. We're having him tested.
Unfortunately, Dan isn't in Barcelona for the testing.
No, I think he's in Vietnam at the minute.
Something like that.
But you weren't there, man. You weren't there. Right, we found our level for tonight already, and we're not even a minute in.
I thought we just spent 10 minutes getting levels.
Oh, engineering joke.
So we've got news then. Things have happened since last Monday.
Yeah, there's been all kinds of stuff and things.
Not necessarily news, but cars and photos and launches and
testing.
Yeah, people went out on track today and did lap times.
I've changed my mind about the cars since I've seen them on the track.
Yeah, when you see them actually in daylight on the circuit, they look pretty good. Yeah. I really like the way they look from you can take this however you wish. I really like the way they look from behind.
Yeah,
I've got some thoughts on that.
I still miss the.
Oh, sorry, was that too tabloid?
Maybe.
Okay.
I still miss the concept, like the concept car ideas that never seem to materialise that all the teams put out, but they are infinitely better than cars have been for the past 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, we already spoke about briefly about the Sauber launch, didn't we, last week, and the graphic images, which I thought originally were photos of the Williams car, which turned out to not be that far removed from the actual Williams that was launched. We'll talk about the cars and what we think of them and their liveries and sort of various bits and bobs of design.
Quirks and foibles?
Yeah, quirks and foibles. That sounds good. We'll go through them in a bit, but should we briefly touch on day one of testing? Because there have been cars out on track doing things.
Well, yeah, there's been 9 cars on track doing things, and McLaren.
Well, no, they did get out
I suppose
eventually.
they did do something in the end when they got it fixed. But we'll start with McLaren because bad first day of testing again. 2015, the return.
2016, the return.
Well, no, because in 2015, and I want to thank Sean Kelly for these stats.
Hello, Sean.
Last year, McLaren did 54 laps on the first day of testing. Or is that, 84? My eyesight's failing. In 2015, they did 6 laps. Which of those 2 seasons was the best for them?
2015. The car was better, wasn't it?
No,
Did they end up with more points?
2016.
Oh, 2016, sorry.
Yeah. So, are they... I mean, this time it was a struggle with
the first
oil.
day. Yeah, well, there was an oil pressure problem.
But it did sound like an excuse, that. It didn't sound like the truth.
Well, one of our listeners, James, sent us a video that he took because he's actually in Barcelona at the minute and we're not jealous in the slightest.
Yeah.
And
Thanks for that, James.
Yeah, thank you very much. And by God, it sounds like a truck.
Sound like a bag of nails going around.
Yeah, I mean, they had a filming day, didn't they, McLaren, in Barcelona the day before the testing. And then on the first day of testing, they go a bit full pelt and I think Fernando did an installation lap before they realised there was a problem, and just where the actual component is that they needed to get to involved completely dismantling the car and the power unit, which took them 4 or 5 hours to do, but that lost Fernando half a day's worth of running, and he eventually got back out and wasn't slowest. He was still ahead of Marcus Ericsson in the Sauber.
He was the slowest of this year's engines.
Slowest of this year's engines, yeah. But let's not lambast McLaren too much right now. As much as we shouldn't praise too many people for doing well.
No,
it's day one of test one.
You can't really take much on speed.
No,
on this one.
Consistency is what you're looking for in this.
This is making sure the car works. McLaren only had time to give Alonso 29 laps.
Yeah. McLaren might turn up tomorrow with Stoffel Van Dorn, and by the time people are listening to this, we'll know or not. But they might turn up with Stoffel Van Dorn tomorrow and do 100 laps.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. I mean, it is worrying for McLaren that they put the lowest number of laps in, 29 laps.
Yeah, that is a bit of a worry. But again, it's day one of testing. Let's not throw Throw the what's it called? Throw the baby out with the dishwater.
To be fair though, the guys with
bath
the most
water.
Yeah, the guys with the most to worry about. I know obviously we just said you can't read too much into times, but when you consider that Sauber did 72 laps, which I'm thinking would be like 4th or 5th most laps of any other team.
Yeah.
And they're 5 seconds off the pace.
Yeah.
Now, apparently they were testing aero, but
systems and aero testing.
That's all they've got this year because they haven't got the engine power.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is as well, what you got to remember with Sauber is they've got a similar issue this year as to what Manor had in 2015, whereas they're trying to make sure that 2017 software and regulations and all that line up with the 2016 power unit.
No, but didn't they have the 2016 power unit last year?
Yeah, they've got last year's engines in this year's car.
Yeah, but they've got new software and everything else is new. They have to make sure that everything else works.
But
so that's why they're doing.
But
systems
they're familiar
checks.
with it, though.
Yeah, they're familiar with it.
They're not going in blind.
Yeah,
they've had last year's engine to develop the car round and develop this year's software round.
I just think when you consider that, like the teams in front of them, essentially, almost everybody in front of them up to 7th, they've done twice as many laps.
Yeah,
and I think I wouldn't expect them to be up there in the mix because it's Sauber.
Yeah,
but to be 5 seconds down on Lewis's fastest lap, that's not looking good, is it?
No, it isn't. And that must be mostly to do with the power unit, you would think.
Yeah. Well, let's face it. The problem is the fact that they've got an old power unit, but when was the last time we saw any decent aero work from Sauber?
Yeah, I mean, we'll go through the cars again in a minute, but we'll go through the cars in a minute. But Sauber were one of the first, weren't they, to sort of leak their images? Well, the first actual car that we saw was
Sauber. Because the Williams week before last was the computer.
Yeah,
mock-up.
But there's nothing strikingly special about Sauber. I mean, I looked at that nose again. Like I said last week, the nose looks relatively sloping, but I think that's more to do with the livery than anything, because like you said, Lee, line it up with last year's car, it looks pretty much the same place.
Yeah.
If you look at other cars like Ferrari, they got a lot lower nose this year.
Top and bottom of it is, look what happened to Toro Rosso last year with the with an old engine in it, and we know they had a decent chassis.
Yeah, decent aero package, decent chassis.
So Sauber have got that problem with what we think is probably not a decent chassis, and along with that, if they've got basic aero work and everyone else has took a step forward with the 2017 regulations aero wise, that is fucked.
You've got to think now that Manor are around, they have the smallest budget on the grid.
Yeah, I'd have thought so.
And they are going to have the least amount of development staff.
Well, yeah, I would think so. I mean, at least until they get their sort of structure sorted out, because I mean they've had this takeover by what they called Longbow Finance,
Ericsson Inc.
Ericsson Incorporated, yeah, and they just need to. Well, I don't know what they need to do, but they just need to carry on, basically. Get going and do it.
Probably, I would say, need a sizable cash injection and see if they can get some quality staff.
Yeah, but I mean, as you say, consistency is key. Sauber got consistency but no speed. McLaren had a little bit of speed but no consistency.
Yeah.
And then if you work your way sort of up from there, who's next up after the McLaren?
Next up, going timing-wise, was Hülkenberg in the Renault.
So Hülkenberg's debut in the Renault?
Yeah, 57 laps. Again, that was, I think, judging by the time, 3 seconds and change off Lewis's fastest lap. But I think, again, that was shakedown testing, systems testing, making sure everything works. This is effectively Renault's debut.
Yeah, definitely.
It is, because they're basically not being Lotus this year.
Yeah. This is the
first...
The
takeover was so late, wasn't it, last year, that they were...
Yeah, the car was already there, and it was just, we've got to move things around to...
Yeah, and it had been built from bits
engine
that were in the cupboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was built, you say, Mercedes engine was supposed to go in the back of that car, and then Renault took it over, and of course you can't have a Renault Mercedes.
Not really. So, I mean, this is Renault... this is Renault's first season as
As a
full,
works
as full
team,
Renault, as a works team. No mechanical problems. Car didn't break down. New driver in the car. The best and worst you can say about what they did today was solid.
Yeah.
At least they know they've got a car that works, and they can only improve from here. And I think we'll see gradual improvements over the remaining 7 days in the 2 testing sessions.
Yeah.
Next up was Carlos Sainz in the Toro Rosso. He got 51 laps in. Nothing major to report again with what happened to him.
There's a lot of teams here putting like quite few laps in, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's no big laps going on.
No, but I mean, let's play it safe, isn't it? For a lot of the midfield teams who they don't want to chuck away their reliability on something like a McLaren issue. So you got like a team like Toro Rosso, for example, was like a 124.5 essentially, wasn't it? Give or take a few thousandths, but just again, you could say the same for Toro Rosso. A solid day. The car looks interesting to say the least. Is it possible that James Key might have outdone his master, Adrian Newey? We don't know. We can't tell.
No.
But it's certainly an interesting looking car, that Toro Rosso. I mean, we'll get onto the way they look and what we think of the little designs in a bit, but just after we've had a bit of a chat about the testing. But like you say, Paul, nothing really to report, is there?
No, nothing seriously up. Perez next in the Force India, 39 laps.
Lots of aero paint being seen on that car.
Yeah, something tells me Force India aren't overly happy with the way that the aero's working.
For them.
And it's the second lowest amount of laps that anyone did today. It's McLaren were 29, they were 39.
Yeah, and McLaren lost half a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can't spell disaster quite yet for...
Oh, yeah, there's nothing, but I again, if we're talking about these big shifts in rules, it's going to be the teams with the smaller budgets that suffer more.
Yeah, although we've thought this before with Force India for the last couple of years, because the budget hasn't been there to the extent of the big boy teams.
Yeah. And they've always pulled something.
They've always pulled something new.
Yeah.
This year, I don't think they're gonna. I think they're gonna struggle to maintain fourth.
Yeah, I think so.
I think they'll struggle to maintain fourth, but I mean, I'm quite intrigued by their driver lineup. You got Perez and Ocon. I think Ocon's probably going to outdrive that car, and we all know what Perez is a known quantity of quite consistently get not when I say consistently, I don't mean necessarily consistently in the normal term of the word, but he can get decent results out of a what tend to be a poor-ish car.
He's good at driving a bad car.
Yeah.
I think it might be interesting to see what it does to morale for Force India, because they've been making such good pounder moves forward, and if they come into a brick wall,
they find themselves seventh.
Yeah.
It's very possible with the way that teams
gonna be a blow,
stepping up. Yeah, it's gonna hurt the team. It's gonna hurt them hard. Next up is Valtteri Bottas.
I thought this was interesting.
Who did the morning stint for Mercedes?
Yeah, he did a morning stint, and I think he did something.
He still got 79 laps in before launch.
More laps than Lewis.
Yeah, he alone got so he's done more laps than anyone.
No,
has he not?
No, he did the third most laps, but he only had the morning.
Well, right, okay, so he only had the morning.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose you could say he net would have had the same as Lewis if they'd had a full day in the car. Either one of them would have done the most laps, probably.
Yeah.
But obviously, with the way that Mercedes do the testing, they go for long stints, race distance, and it's a bit much to get drivers to do 2 races in a day.
Well, I think the thing is, it's the fact that they know how reliable that car is. Usually, it usually
out of the box.
Yeah. So they can afford to do this.
Yeah, I mean, last year they did what was it in
I think it was 2015. They did 167 laps on
two
day
race
one.
distance.
Two race distances more than
Yeah.
everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a problem with the car.
Yeah.
Because they just put it on the track, said go, and then come back in a couple of hours.
Yeah. And then every race, Lewis's engine blew up.
That's because he wore out all his engines doing so much testing. It was an acclimatisation session for Bottas. It was the first time in anger in a Mercedes. We saw an interview with Toto Wolff on the Sky Show on Ted's qualifying notebook. Ted's notebook.
Yeah, Ted's testing notebook.
Ted's testing notebook, and Toto was effectively saying it's what he needs to do now is just to get to know the people, the organisation, the way things work, how the car works. Because it's had nothing to do with the development of the car, really.
I'd love to know what, because this is something you never know when they split it with two drivers. I'd love to know what the difference in setup was between the cars. I know they've been messing around with the wings, haven't they, with the shark fins?
Yeah.
A lot. But I'd love to know what the difference between the cars was, because if they ran the same programs with, if they ran the same programs with both drivers, regardless of testing or not, I don't think Bottas would be happy with 1.4 behind Lewis.
Well, no, Bottas ran without the shark fin this morning. Lewis ran with it this afternoon.
Right. So there were genuine
differences.
Right, that's good. Because I didn't know. But
Lewis has gone back to using a yellowish helmet as well.
Well, he had the competition, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He had that fan competition to design his helmet, and it's been designed by an actual graphic designer from Brazil, and that's the helmet he's sticking with for
some
the
of the
2017
trolling
system.
on that was fucking amazing.
The one that was made of tinfoil was my favourite.
The one which had him crying, which had like a black kid crying on the back of the helmet, saying "It's my data."
And the Nico Rosberg one was pretty good as well.
Nico Rosberg one was amazing.
Nico actually responded to it. Yeah, seems pretty good to me. Something along those lines.
But just actually reading the report. Right, Bottas did 79 laps without the shark fin. Lewis split it, half with the fin, half without. When he took the fin off, that's when he got faster.
Right.
That could change things.
So, but was it to do with tyres though as well? Because some of them ran mediums, didn't they?
Yeah,
some of them ran softs.
Thing, innit?
And we don't really know the
I know Sebastian Vettel's fastest lap that put him second was on the mediums.
Yeah, we don't really know the comparative times between the tyres yet for 2017, because we sort of worked out that you could get about 0.8 to a second on per lap depending on what circuit you were on.
You've also got to wonder about the fuel loads as well.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because Lewis went out in 2 stints.
Yeah.
Or minimum of 2 stints. We didn't get all the refueling data, how many times he actually came in for fuel, and was his laps on a lower tank and Bottas not. And
to say back at what Flood was saying there about the we thought it was like around 0.8 to a second, depending on
circuit conditions and that.
But they're completely different tyres now as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So
we don't know
who
what
fucking knows.
Yeah, medium tyres might end up being harder wearing and also strangely faster than the softs. We just don't know.
And the other thing to take into account is, of course, the track temperature will have changed between the morning and the afternoon sessions as well. It'll have got warmer, and that'll have played into the tyres.
Yeah,
quite a bit more.
I reckon it was going to be pretty fucking icy wherever Alonso was.
There was just an icy cloud following that man around today.
It was the cool down room at the back of the McLaren motorhome.
Yeah,
and it was very cool.
That guy gets so much bad luck. I bet he gets like blistering on his shoes.
Yeah, he gets so much bad luck. Mark Webber sends him a thank you card.
Next up, we got Danny Ricciardo, 50 laps with an interrupted morning session because of a sensor fault.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're used to red flags quite often during testing because cars stop out on track. And in that case, the recovery trucks have to be sent to get them. Everything's very secretive because it's testing. No one wants people to get photos of the underside of their car or wings.
Anything you can hide in testing, you hide.
Well, absolutely.
As we saw when the Ferrari pulled into the pits
and had the screens
and
waiting.
it had the screens round it before it had even stopped properly.
Yeah. So.
But Danny Rick had a sensor failure on his fourth lap, which kind of interrupted the morning a little bit. Managed to get that fixed. 50 laps during the day. Fastest time was 1:22.9, about 1.1 seconds off the pace. But as we say, pace means nothing at the moment. It's pre-season friendly territory. Yeah. The interesting thing about the Red Bull, and we'll talk about this in more depth, is that nose. The nose and the little veins under the front section, but
there's
always something, isn't there, on the Red Bull car that makes us go, what's that for?
Well, someone tweeted up, I can't remember who it was. It was someone that's involved in F1, and they tweeted a picture of the front wing going up and said, anyone looking at this picture knows it's A, clever, and B, hard to copy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Adrian Newey and his pencil.
Yeah.
And his granddad cardigan, according to Sky as well.
I quite like his cardi.
You are a cardigan aficionado, though, aren't you?
I like a cardi. I like a heavy knit, to be perfectly honest. Anything like a jumper or cardi.
You are just Mr. Preppy.
I like a heavy knit, actually. A good chunky knit. Good.
I'm probably the least preppy person in the world.
I don't know, cardigans are very preppy.
Well, they're also very geography teacher, but I'm not very good at geography.
Yeah, fair point.
What's the capital of Uruguay?
Australia.
Yes. No.
You. K-Mag next in the Haas. The Haas Airfix. Complete with primer.
Well, this is interesting for Haas because this is the first time they've actually got their proper... Their shit together, if you will. They've got
there's less of a Ferrari,
a lot less of a Ferrari, and a lot more Haas. And they've put in the fourth fastest time of the day.
Fourth fastest time, and of course the Haas organisation as a whole are celebrating because they won the Daytona 500 on Sunday.
Awesome! Congratulations to them. But with the F1 hat on, how are they faring on their first day of testing? How many laps did they do?
51.
He did 51.
That's pretty good. It's not amazing.
After having to pull in for repairs because he hit the barrier on one of the turns.
Yeah, that's what I was keeping in mind, the fact that he had a stoppage.
Yeah.
Didn't make it, obviously, back to the pits. Didn't have to red flag it at all or anything.
Yeah, but there was also problems with the T-wing, or the whale tail as we've christened it, or the Fernando seat. That we noticed. Lee noticed that one as he was coming back into the pits one time. It was a little bit loose and wobbling. A lot of the teams have attached these T-wings today for the first time because we didn't see that.
It wasn't just the T-wing.
It was the whole shark fin.
The whole of the fin was going. Yeah.
I'm guessing not ideal for aero.
No, I'm going to guess that's not.
No, probably not.
Considering the stability of all the other cars, watching how stable. I mean, there's a little bit of movement in them, but nowhere near as much as we saw in the Haas. But let's be honest here. This Haas's second season in Formula One. The first season as a proper team. Where they haven't, basically scrounged 85% of their car from another manufacturer team. And they have progressed. They're not just on the ball. They've first day of testing. Can't read too much into it again, but it looks like they've progressed.
Yeah, stable enough to get the laps in when they're not battering it against the barriers.
Yeah.
All right, Grosjean hasn't got in it yet, so we'll see what the brakes do tomorrow.
Break
probably. And it's looking like there is a lot of potential from this season to be where they want it to be, which is a solid mid-grid team. They know they're not going to be challenging for race wins until about the fourth or fifth year in F1.
Yeah,
that was never the plan, because they've seen teams come in and say, we're gonna shake things up from the start. BAR in '99.
Yeah.
Craig Pollock's classic quote of, "We will win the race for our debut race from pole position without a Renault engine in the car." So when both cars didn't finish the first race after they qualified well down the grid with a Renault Supertech engine in there that they had to buy a Flavio Briatore. Yeah. Moving swiftly on, which is something BAR didn't do in the first season.
Didn't do at all, really, did they? BAR.
No points.
No.
But yeah, it's looking positive for Haas. Got to say,
Did BAR not score points until they were Honda?
they didn't score points in the first season. It took.
Oh right, no, I just the way you said no points there.
No points in the first season. They managed to get points in. Villeneuve got points in the second season.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole of '99,
He should have got a point for that crash in Australia when his wing fell off.
That was spectacular. he got style points for the amount of spins he did.
Yeah.
But aside from that, no, they did nothing. So Haas are already up on that because I'm not going to count Manor, Caterham, and Hispania as new entrants because they weren't even challenging for points.
But the thing is, as well, that was when points went back first 6, and this is now top 10. And Manor, we were celebrating when Manor got into a top 10 place.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you look at it in that respect, then they're not challenging. They were never challenging for top 6 points, whereas BAR did manage that. But what Haas have done here, getting back to the point in mind, it's that they've played it safe enough to not make a mistake, not have any breakdowns or anything. Yeah, all right, K-Mag clipped the barrier a little bit, and they wanted to. The reason they've only done 51 laps is because they had quite a big stoppage for it. But they've gone over. They've played it safe. They've gone over everything, made sure everything's okay. Maybe they do have a bit of a trouble with that wobbly fin.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they'll get round to fixing it. They got round to fixing their dodgy front wings after testing last year.
Yeah.
They're still learning.
I think,
I'm impressed by them so far.
Yeah, I hope so. I like Haas as a team. I want them to do well.
Yeah, they're doing it properly.
But I think move on to Williams because there's something I want to bring up when we do the teams.
Yeah.
Looking at this.
Well, Massa was next in the Williams, 103 laps and only 3/10 off the fastest time.
Yeah,
which is pretty solid, given the fact that Williams, and I know we're going to talk about the liveries and the way they look, but given the fact that Williams kind of looks like 2016's car stretched to fit the 2017 regs.
Yeah.
I think I said on last week's podcast I worried that Williams had played it too safe.
We might have this wrong.
Williams maybe got it right by being, well, we know this works, so let's just do this for 2017.
Well, from where I take it, all of our listeners will have watched the Ted's Notebook probably.
Those
our English listeners and European listeners. But when you have him asking Adrian Newey if the Red Bull car is basic to reduce drag, maybe that's what Williams were doing as well. Knowing that they're going to have so much more fundamental mechanical grip, maybe that's why the aero isn't as fucking crazy as we thought it should be.
Possibly.
So,
but it actually looks like we could be wrong about the Williams because it's obviously reliable.
Yeah.
And it showed today that it does have the potential to be quick. And Massa didn't do a bad job at all. But if anybody's going to be experienced in testing, it's going to be him.
Yeah,
I think we'll see something different with Lance Stroll in the car. That's gonna be key in 2 areas.
It's a shame there isn't more split driver pairings because it gives you something more to go off.
I quite like what Mercedes have done with like one driver in the morning,
it gives us
one
something to
driver
talk
in the
about
afternoon
as well.
And I also think that's down to the fact that the car broke the drivers last year, didn't it?
Yeah.
So it's quite brave for a lot of other teams who are expecting reliability to go out there and just throw one driver in the car for a whole day.
Yeah.
And it's quite clever of Mercedes to learn from their own mistakes where they had to draft Pascal Wehrlein in after Rosberg and Hamilton were just too knackered to finish the 4-day test.
Yeah. But I'll be interested to see how the Williams performs with Lance Stroll at the wheel. Is it going to be one of those that if he can get in, drive it, puts some laps in, gets a decent competitive looking time in.
It'd be nice to see him within a couple of tenths of Massa.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying for.
If he can do that, then yeah, okay, I'll hold my hand up and say it's a good car.
But never mind it being a good car, with Massa only being 3/10 off the pace on day. I know again, day one. Day one. Okay, day one. But the Massa only being 3/10 off. Have Williams actually proved us wrong by getting the experienced guy in who can adapt to change?
It's we're honest enough to say we're wrong if we are wrong.
Absolutely, I hold my hand. I was wrong about many things last year.
I mean, the thing is, right? We say you can't read too much into testing, which we know you can't. But if we lump Hamilton and Bottas together, so because all the other teams just ran one driver, the Mercedes would have had the most laps with 152.
Right.
Then Ferrari would have been second. Massa and the Williams would have been third, but their times are all quite close together, and then there's a massive gap of almost a second, and then everyone else's time which goes down incrementally. So I don't know whether, looking at that, is that a trend that's starting to form? And
so Williams, Ferrari and Mercedes are like way ahead of everyone else.
Well, that's the trend there, it seems to be showing, if there's anything that could be read into it at all.
Could you add Red Bull into that if they hadn't have had the technical issues?
If they had wings, yes.
You've got to spell it with 3 I's now.
Wings. Yeah, or wins when they were winning a lot with Vettel, yeah, you could probably put Red Bull in with that, but so what you're saying, like it's going to be like a split formula?
Maybe. Yeah, I think the haves and have-nots are going to be very obvious come Australia.
So at least it's going to be the usual suspect rather than the usual suspect, if that's the case, because it would be great to see 4 teams battling for wins.
Would be, but I tell you what, looking at looking at previous years, it looks very similar.
It does. We don't know if there's anyone sandbagging yet.
Do you know what? If Mercedes are ahead of everybody else like they were last year, they might as well give Hamilton the championship in Australia, because
I don't know.
No, regardless of what whatever Bottas can do, very few people come into a brand new team and win a championship in that car. He could be the best driver in the fucking world, but he's got a tall order to get himself embedded into a team quickly.
Yeah,
I mean, you could do a Jacques Villeneuve and push until the last race of the season.
Yeah, but I don't think Bottas is anywhere near as good as Jacques Villeneuve.
No, but he could do a Jacques Villeneuve.
He could do, yeah. But I just don't. I don't see that.
But looking at the times, what you're saying is like there's the top like 3 from today at least.
Yeah.
Are all like bunched together. Then there's like the massive like ravine of a gap. Chasm before you get to the next lot of a group of teams.
It's well over three quarters of a second between third and fourth.
Yeah. Who are like then a tenth apart again. Do we want a split formula? You know, where you got the top 4 teams. You know, because what you could end up with is like Mercedes still being way out ahead, and then Ferrari, Williams, Red Bull fighting for second, and then nobody else being anywhere near them fighting for points.
You'd end up with a race for the last step of the podium.
Yeah, but I mean,
looking at this, you could end up with a race for the last couple of points paying positions.
Yeah,
Haas, Toro Rosso, Renault, and McLaren fighting it out, and Sauber. Well,
I've got a theory about Toro Rosso, which I'll come to when we start talking about the cars in a bit, when we look at the designs of the cars. But yeah, you're possibly running dangerous territory there, where you split the formula into different leagues almost. Yeah. I mean, it sort of pans itself out throughout the season anyway. You end up with like sort of fights for fourth, like Williams Force India last year, things like that. But I mean, you don't want to say from the get-go this is how it's going to be. Really,
no, of course you don't.
I mean, and what we're doing here is, as I said before, we're just guessing for like the opening rounds of the season, really. What's probably going to happen, you know, with after testing, you got a good idea what's going to happen probably pre-European races. After European races, you know, there might be a midfield team that makes a big leap. Maybe it could be a Williams, a Red Bull that makes a giant leap and they're able to challenge Mercedes, like, was it 2 years ago that everybody thought Red Bull are going to challenge Mercedes? Then all of a sudden Ferrari won a race, like second race of the season.
Yeah.
So we could end up with a similar situation like that. Early days yet.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think it's just an interesting trend. Again, I think the story for me from testing here, which I can't wait to see how it works out throughout all of it, is where McLaren are going to be, because regardless of how quick we thought they were going to be, did anybody really think they would have the same sort of technical problems as they've had for the last 2 years and then be second to last by the end of the first test?
I didn't think they'd be that bad.
No,
because let's face it, right? You see if they're gonna, if Stoffel goes out tomorrow and he has technical issues as well, then
it's going to be a long year.
But you could be looking at McLaren going backwards to 2015, almost. You know, with this radical new power unit that Honda have done, if they've completely redesigned the engine and completely redesigned brand new problems that they need to get over, this could be another year of just seeing McLaren's peel off left, right, and centre.
Oh God, we're going to be celebrating if they get into Q2.
Yeah, but I might be able to get a button hat.
Yeah, there is that.
To be perfectly honest, like I don't think I can do another year.
If this McLaren turns out to be another dog, and Fernando says, right, that's it, forget it, I'm off, and it's in Jensen's contract that he is the third driver and can be called on, and Jensen comes in, are you going to retire from giving a toss about Formula One?
Oh no, I'd never retire from giving a toss about Formula One. But
are you just going to sit in a corner and blub every Monday night as soon as we turn the microphones on?
There will be weeping. There will definitely be weeping.
And some sobbing, I think, as well.
I mean, generally I cry inside anyway, but there will be external crying.
A sports cry for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Well, I think I've just found this week's title.
A sports cry for all the wrong reasons.
It's either this week's title or your autobiography. I can't make up my mind which.
The picture of Lee sat in his gown next to the fire with his pipe. A sports cry for all the wrong reasons.
And his cardigan, don't forget.
And his cardigan, yeah.
He is a cardigan aficionado. Shall we talk about the cars?
Yeah, let's go through the cars. I mean, let's try not to bore everybody with all the technical details of everything, but
let's just talk about how nice they look.
Yeah, they do look quite nice.
Yeah.
Let's just, if we start off with the ones should we start off at the back of last year's Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, the Sauber, which actually came out last Monday, but now we've seen it on track, we still don't know a great deal more about it.
Yeah, we do. It looks well slow.
Apart from the fact that it's about
it looks really slow, and they're sponsored by themselves doing 25 years in Formula One, which is odd because they've only done 24. But
they're celebrating their 25th year.
Yeah, but
this is the only thing I think we can generally get from the first test is the fact that Sauber are fucked. They're not surprising anyone. Where they are today is where they will be tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that.
There's nothing striking, is there, on that Sauber car that makes you go, "Oh, that's interesting."
The only thing that looks out of the ordinary compared to every other car is the sort of valley in the middle of the rear wing, in the sort of lining up with the shark.
Yeah, they've got
thing.
that. They've also got like that split airbox thing going on as well.
And yeah, that's
using,
really all you can say.
I mean, they're using a 2016 Ferrari power unit, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, you'd expect them to maybe follow the cooling techniques of the Ferrari team last year, but they're not.
No, and they've got an engine that probably is going to see zero development.
They've also got the worst driver lineup on the grid.
Yeah, I would go with that.
Well, at the moment, we don't know who the driver lineup is going to be.
Giovinazzi's in the car tomorrow.
Giovinazzi's in the car tomorrow and Thursday. Verline might be back for the second test session next week, and might be back for Australia.
Yeah. Well, when you've got they've got essentially Marcus Ericsson, as far as I'm concerned, the hands down worst Formula One driver on the grid. We don't know about Lance Stroll yet.
No.
Let's wait and see. But I'm not willing.
To be honest with you, Lance Stroll is at 0. Ericsson is on 0. Is on minus
Minus,
points.
yeah. So if they have the worst driver on the grid, and they have another driver which better teams look at as unemployable.
Yeah.
So that's not fucking grand.
And let's be honest, he's only got the drive this year because his mates bought the team.
Yeah. And Pascal is only in the team because Mercedes are paying for him to be there.
Yeah, got nowhere else to put him.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. When you're Mercedes and one of your customers, considering he was fucking Mercedes' next great hope.
Mercedes darling.
Yeah. And one of your customer teams say, no, we don't want him, we'll have the French lad.
We'll have the guy that came in halfway through the season when the other bloke ran out of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good for Pascal.
No.
And we're not going to find out how bad it's looking unless we see him in a car.
Be interesting to see him against Ericsson.
You know what? It'd be funny if Giovinazzi goes out tomorrow and blitzes the times, and Ericsson goes, "How did you do that?" Giovinazzi goes, "It's easy. It's
this
great.
car's well good."
Yeah, this car's amazing. I'll drive this year if you want me to.
You've got to wonder if Ferrari are giving Giovinazzi more support than Mercedes are giving Wehrlein at the moment.
Well, Giovinazzi's an official Ferrari third driver.
He is,
for this year.
I mean, Wehrlein
still
is
very young.
Wehrlein is still Mercedes' official third driver.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he's not getting in a Mercedes. Like he's their third driver, but I'd be very surprised if if one of the other drivers got sick.
Well, put it this way, he's their third driver, and when their second driver or first driver, whichever way you want to look at it, when one of their first two drivers left, he was still their third driver.
Yeah. But like this year, if something horrible was to happen and one of the drivers couldn't make a race, I don't believe he would be in the Mercedes. I think that we would find somebody else, even to the point of asking Rosberg to fill in.
Or Esteban Ocon.
Yeah. I don't believe they would use him
or
as a third driver.
Or the young lad of St George something.
Or Paul di Resta.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, they're good at throwing money at Williams to get drivers off them.
Yeah.
It could happen. If Wehrlein... I think Wehrlein has to get his act together pretty bloody quick.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's one and done.
It'd be funny if Ericsson beats him.
I think that would just finish his career.
I don't think Ericsson's capable of it. I do think Pascal's probably going to be quicker, but it would be funny.
Yeah. You notice how dull the Sauber is that we're actually not even talking about the car.
Yeah, next car.
Yeah, next car up, Renault.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah. See, Renault, I quite like. They've gone a bit. They've gone for the. They haven't played it safe. They've gone a bit dangerous with their whole sort of sweeping away behind the side pods. There's not really sweeping downwards and also inwards. Keeping with like the size 0 kind of theme that we've become used to in the last few years, but very size 0 once you go back from those side pods. So it's quite a dramatic sweep. Aside from that, nothing massively outstanding on the Renault. Nice livery with the black, quite like the addition of the black and the yellow. Not sure about the race suits there, if I'm honest.
Oh, the Fireman Sam outfits, as somebody tweeted last week.
Yeah, they look a little bit like your your mechanics overalls from the 80s.
Yeah, I see what you mean. One thing that I did see about the Renault, you have to look fairly close at the photos of it. It's got a very small air intake at the top of the nose.
Yeah.
That is something that it's sort of going back to the days of the F duct.
Yeah,
bit.
The Red Bulls always had a hose in the
nose.
Yeah, a hole in the front of the nose, hasn't it? Like because they have that grill, like a small grill right in the front.
Yeah. They always used to have that. Yeah.
They say it's for driver cooling.
That's according to the interview that we saw with Adrian Newey. That's what the official regulations state, but it can be used for other things if you do it properly.
Yeah.
And he wears a cardigan, so he must know.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, the Renault, big, take the fin away, there's a big slope down from the back of the engine back of the engine cover.
Yeah, but well,
to the rear.
Take the fin away from Renault, and then they fell to bits.
Bum.
Oi.
But then you look at the it's like I said before about the side pods. Everything behind that mandatory sort of frame of the airbox and the side pods, behind that they've gone for the smallest thing possible, and it's quite as I say, quite a dramatic sweep away to nothing. It makes you kind of wonder where they've put the engine in that car, really, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's an interesting car, but I kind of hope for their sake that it's fast, because this is the first proper Renault of the comeback era, really, isn't it? This comeback era, because last year they were Lotus with Renault badges on them, and they were trying to fight with a Mercedes-shaped hole in the back of back of that car, and they managed to shoehorn a Renault engine into it. But there's nothing dramatic aside from that, really, is there?
No, there's nothing. It doesn't look like they've gone revolutionary, but I think they had to go safe this year because effectively they've not had their own car to evolve.
No, I don't think they've gone safe. I think they've gone. They have played it sort of, gone a bit aggressive with that sweeping back part of the car.
Although
it's a brave move.
Although they do have a different kind of double airbox to the Sauber.
I mean, look at the floor as well. The floor is different on the Renault.
Not as much air inlets on the floor as you'd see in other cars.
Yeah.
There's obviously a low pressure area there that doesn't need venting. So does that mean they're not going to get as much low pressure air under the car? So they've had to go for aero in different ways. I'm no expert on this.
No.
But
I've got no idea.
It looks, I don't know, it just looks pedestrian.
Tell you what is interesting about the Renault is given the fact that McLaren were quite loud about their Castrol sponsorship this year. McLaren have got a little tiny badge, and Castrol is fucking all over that Renault. It's on the back, at the side of the rear wings, it's on the side of the side pod, and it's on the side of the front wing.
And it's right above the nose, above the Renault Diamond.
Oh, is it? Yeah. I can't see the front on this picture I'm looking at.
Yeah, I've got a different picture up here of the nose.
But no, I just thought it was interesting considering, because at one point we thought the way Honda would talk about their Castrol tie-in, we thought that might be title sponsor, didn't we?
Yeah, we thought
we were expecting a green McLaren at one point. I mean, it's a break for Renault because they usually go for Elf.
Yeah.
As their fuel company, or Total. Well, Total, as we usually call it.
Yeah. Both French fuel companies, though.
But yeah, it's there's a lot of Castrol branding. Still lacking all the main sponsors, but the plugging themselves.
Well, yeah, Renault, they're a sponsor, they're a title team, aren't they? You know what I mean? They're not gonna plaster some necessarily unnecessarily big sponsor over the car unless they have to.
Yeah,
it's a marketing tool for themselves. So who's after Renault? Force India?
No, it's Haas next.
Haas.
Yeah, Force India come a long way on.
I see. Yeah, we're not doing it in order of launches, are we?
We're doing it in order from last season.
Yeah.
Haas. Now this one leaked early at the weekend. The very grey body of the car with black and red outline areas.
Excuse me.
You're a decorator. You've got opinions on primer.
I've got an opinion on everything.
That is true.
No, it's a really good film. It's a time travel film. But yeah, the car's nice. I like it.
The Haas does look good. It's definitely you can definitely tell that they haven't just copied more Ferrari parts.
No, this is the first year of actual Haas, isn't it? So it's an important year for them. I mean, the working backwards from the front of the car. If you've got a picture up of it there in front of you, just that's a big boxy front wing. You know what I mean? It's a box. It's not a sweeping plank that somebody stuck in front of. That's there for effect.
Yeah,
that's gonna cause some damage to the air that it hits. Which is what you want. But also look how far back the nose is as well from the front wing.
Yeah, that is that is something where it's not looking like an identikit F1 car this time. Haas, of course, with their grounding in IndyCar, it's kind of like a splitter on a racing stock car or something.
Yeah, it is a little bit. Yeah, might work the same way.
You know, it's they've obviously thought, you know, this works for us. Let's see how we can Formula One it up.
Yeah.
Now, the picture I've got here is difficult to see, but have they gone for some very sort of low barge boards in front of the side pods there to sort of filter air over that big expanse of floor?
It looks like it, yes. Again, it's hard to tell because you don't get to see the full angles of the cars and all the geeky bits that
We haven't seen an awful lot of Haas on track today, did we? But apart from the fact when K-Mag put it into the wall, we were talking about that wobbly fin thing that they had a bit of a problem with. But hopefully they'll get that sorted in due course. But they've gone for like the sling back sort of fin thing rather than the square block of cheese. So it's aesthetically more pleasing, at least.
They did also try out the T-wing in testing today, and that, judging by the pictures that have come out, that actually looks a lot wider than any other team using this T-wing. It's the full width of the rear wing. The other teams were using ones that were about 2/3 to 3/4 of the rear wing width. Wow, that was hard to say.
I wonder whether they're gonna someone's gonna like get rid of the T-wings before we get to Australia. It's only going to take one of them to come off. Joe, one of them to come off and give the reason to get rid of them.
Yeah, just like the X-wings.
Yeah.
Or the caravan mirrors, as somebody used to call them. I am yet to see convincing reasons for why they are there.
It's another rear wing, isn't it?
Effectively, yeah, but it's tiny.
Yeah, no, but it's there to help get back some of the aero that they've lost by dropping the rear wing.
And I suppose with it being a little higher than the rear wing because it's on the highest part of the car, which is the back of the shark fin, which can be higher than the rear wing is.
It's essentially the same height as what the rear wing would have been on the old cars.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that sounds feasible.
Who's next on that list?
Next on the list is Toro Rosso.
Now, this is the car, for me, livery-wise, spot on.
Livery-wise, this is the car for... what was the tweet from F1 Paddock? The universe is in rare agreement that the Toro Rosso is the best-looking car on the grid.
Yeah,
I can't disagree with that.
No.
It's up there, isn't it?
I think I've seen one person, I think, on our Facebook page who said they didn't like it because it looked like a drinks can. I think that's why I like it.
Did somebody really say that?
Yeah.
It's a Red Bull, and he's upset it looks like a drinks can.
Yeah.
Who said that?
I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's somebody on our Facebook page.
Someone on our Facebook. I'm gonna have a look at this.
Have a word with yourself.
Yeah. So we've got the. I actually think that the chrome Red Bull with that bright blue livery with the red highlights just looks brilliant. I just think it looks really, really good. Just for podcasting purposes, Paul, I think you want to look at the post that you put up earlier about asking people for their opinions. I think it was on that thread. I might be mistaken.
Let's have a look. Lee Webster, I think Toro Rosso have won the livery design this season. Dwayne Schoenberg, Toro Rosso looks beautiful. Daniel Kincaid, hands down the Toro Rosso's best.
This opinion doesn't seem to have much company.
Yeah, Chris Rowden, Toro Rosso is one of the best looking cars in recent years. Gemma Reed, Red Bull makes me sad.
Why?
Ian Walker, Toro Rosso have nailed it. Edson Unitida, the Toro Rosso is made out of Red Bull cans.
I'm seeing.
Toro Rosso is made out of Red Bull cans.
Yeah, and he prefers the Mercedes.
I'm sure there's somebody else on there who, if you keep looking, that actually states they don't like it.
I don't like the Mercedes because it's got this big badge on the side of it, and it looks like they're trying to advertise Mercedes.
Well, yeah, it's yeah, I get where you're going with that, but yeah, it's
that was the one. The Toro Rosso looks like it's made out of Red Bull cans.
Fair enough. I thought there was another one on there, but I love the shot, and I'm just going to show Paul and Lee in the room shot of above from the Toro Rosso with the red highlights on the side pods. It looks
absolutely
wonderful,
fantastic.
It looks
Can
great.
we have a picture of the Toro Rosso for the
cover photo for the
cover
podcast?
photo, yeah.
Yes, we should be able to.
Yeah.
Now we speculated on a Toro Rosso livery change, but nobody really expected that, did they? I mean, that's it. It's good. Let's be honest. It's a good, and the interesting thing, aside from the livery that Toro Rosso have gone for, they look a lot. The car itself looks a lot like the Mercedes. In that nose design is very Mercedes.
It is,
and they are the only other team who have gone with it's like a revolutionary suspension design, which it's Toro Rosso and Mercedes that have gone with it.
No, it's Red Bull, isn't it?
I think it's Toro Rosso.
I think it's Red Bull because Toro Rosso have released a statement saying that they're not going to contest it. So if it was them, of course they're not going to contest it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's Red Bull and Mercedes.
Just to hark back to timings, Toro Rosso today were concentrating on engine reliability because they had ERS problems during the filming day on Saturday. Obviously, the team are running a new engine this year because last year they had an out-of-date Ferrari engine. This year they've moved on to this season's Renault. And it's Renault's new energy recovery system, and they had problems with it.
Yeah. So I've just got the
Shouldn't
quote
be
up.
making the car out of drinks cans.
I've got the quote up here from this morning from what James Key said to Reuters. I looked at the Mercedes and thought, okay, they've got our front suspension. Most people will say we've got Mercedes front suspension. The nose is similar. The front of the side pods are similar. Even the bodywork of the side pods are similar. Let's just hope the engines are similar. So James Key himself has said. James Key himself has said on one hand we were pleased to see someone else has done a similar thing. On the other hand, we were disappointed we weren't the only team to think of something. There are many different concepts out there actually.
It just goes to show how little data that they share with Red Bull.
Yeah.
Because Toro Rosso might have jumped the gun on Red Bull here.
Maybe.
This is my theory I was going to go with before. That Toro Rosso is kind of similar to Mercedes in quite a few ways. Now, if that Renault engine redesign gains as much power as they hope it does,
Carlos Sainz could find himself in the right place at the right time.
They could actually.
Maybe
I'm
he
thinking,
won't want to get out of that contract.
No, I'm thinking maybe Toro Rosso might find themselves a little bit ahead of Red Bull, and we could have a bit of inter-team fighting going on with Verstappen being the angry no man again, but this time being told to move out of the way for Carlos Sainz.
See, and that car has obviously been in development a long time because they knew last year was a write-off.
Yeah. Now, how funny would that be if you've got, and I'm thinking funny from a personal point of view from the drivers, if you've got Danny Ricciardo and Max Verstappen being told to move out of the way for Danny Kvyat and Carlos Sainz.
This actually goes along with a comment that we got on the Facebook page from Ed 11th Place Forsyth.
Hi,
Hello,
Ed.
Ed Staban.
How are you doing?
Don't know if you guys have discussed this topic or not, but what if, and it's a big if, although I think that if is getting smaller looking at the comparison of the Toro Rosso to the Mercedes, but what if Toro Rosso consistently outperformed Red Bull one year?
Well, they've done it. It's happened before.
It has happened before.
They got the first podium and the first win before Red Bull.
Yeah,
they did.
it has. It's not fucking unknown.
They haven't had a podium since, but I think Toro Rosso could actually.
I'm going to say Sainz podiums early on in the season.
They could be
Maybe.
in contention to shake things up. Now, you're saying with the time differences, I didn't know about the ERS issue until I'd just read it.
No,
and the fact
no.
that they were going for stability and reliability and making sure that the engine could actually run laps today.
And if
rather
they think they've got something as well, it's obviously going to be worth them keeping that.
But that's such
keeping
a
lid
drastic
on it.
change. Look at the departure they've made from last year's car to this year's car.
It's a beautiful car.
When you look at some of the cars have basically just stretched their cars to fit this year's regulations. We'll talk about Williams in a bit, but they're one of the teams that have pretty much done that. They haven't doesn't look like they've done anything dramatic. Whereas you got a team here in Toro Rosso who have been brave, completely started from scratch, and they've ended up with a car that they've looked at. They're stuck next to the world champions car and gone, our car is almost the same as theirs.
The only thing I'd worry about with the Toro Rosso is the cool bits are cool, but when you look at the likes of the front wing and the elements on the back of the rear wing and stuff like that, those key areas of downforce appear very basic.
It's a lot lower profile front wing than we've seen on some of the other cars.
Yeah,
but
could be show car testing.
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
like
of course.
we
But
before,
we don't know.
Yeah.
We're not going to know what the real Toro Rosso front wing looks like in comparison to any others.
Could get to
until
Melbourne.
Australia.
Could get to Melbourne. I was gonna say could get to Melbourne, and Toro Rosso and Mercedes don't look anything alike. So, but it's interesting to note that even James Key himself took a look at that Mercedes and went, "Oh, I did that.
Yeah,
I did that as well. Oh, hang on a second, I also did that." So,
as though, I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, but as though a team with Lewis Hamilton driving for it had managed to get blueprints of another team's car.
no, surely not. I've got the new Red Bull here, guys. Oh shit, it's not the Red Bull, it's the Toro Rosso.
Hey, it said Red Bull on the packet.
I don't know. It just looked like a drinks can, didn't it?
Let it go.
No.
All right, don't let it go. Stop being frozen. McLaren.
Do you remember
next.
that? Yeah, do you remember that Marlboro McLaren? Looked like a cigarette packet.
And that fucking stupid yellow one too.
The Benton and Hedges Jordan.
Yeah, look up.
Yeah, it just looked like cigarettes.
Although,
McLaren.
Yeah, McLaren. Gills.
And orange.
And yeah, it looks more orange now. You see it on track rather than under orange lighting.
And
what was it? The McLaren Thought Leadership Centre.
Was that what it said?
That was the building that they did the launch
The
in.
Thought Leadership Centre.
That big auditorium that looks like the nuclear war planning room from Dr. Strangelove.
And it sounds like it's from 1984.
Yeah. But it's McLaren's Thought Leadership Centre. Something tells me, right, Zach Brown hasn't got round to renaming every office or room in the McLaren Technology Centre yet, and that is a throwback to the ROM days.
Possibly, but he's
He's probably going to change the name to, I don't know, the auditorium.
Yeah, he's been brave enough to go with an orange and black livery, which, let's be honest, received mixed responses.
I think it's
reviews.
fucking horrible. I think it might be the worst looking car on the grid.
One
One
good touch is they put little Kiwi on the side of the nose in homage
tribute to
Bruce
Yeah,
McLaren.
that's very nice. But it looks like a fucking Marussia.
In the daylight, it looks better.
I have to admit, I was watching the launch live on TV, and the first tweet that I sent was, "Oh God, it's a Marussia."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Somebody also said Arrows A22.
Yeah, it looks like an
and
Arrows,
Spiker.
and a Spiker.
Yeah.
All slow cars.
Various Indy cars throughout the years as well, because apparently there's been a lot of orange ones of those.
Also, we all played. We
were
were talking before, weren't we, on the Patreon podcast about project cars?
Yeah.
Look at the Formula B car on project cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Formula Lab.
Well, there's Formula A, isn't there? Formula B and Formula C on project cars. We all know what they really mean.
But
I don't mind that McLaren livery at all. And if you look at it in daylight, actually it looks a lot better. And the you can tell under daylight rather than studio lights that the orange is like a gloss bright orange, and the black is actually quite subtly a matte black.
Yeah.
And it actually turns in really, really well. I actually think it's a good looking car. I didn't think the Spiker was a terrible looking car.
No, I just think I think it might be.
I mean, that was orange, but didn't of being Dutch.
It's it's between that and the Force India for me. What's the worst looking car on the grid? Oh, and the Sauber, I suppose. Sauber looks fucking horrible.
I don't know. Livery wise is one thing, design wise is another. But the interesting thing about the McLaren is the gills on the nose on the front wing mounting.
The whole front wing's a fucking work of art.
Yeah, the front wing looks wonderful,
Yeah.
and what McLaren have done with those sort of like gills on the side of the front wing struts is almost similar to what Red Bull have done with like their sort of
on the floor.
Yeah, the wings under, their gills in the floor. But we won't get to see all of that properly and how it works until race trim.
I wonder whether if those gills do a similar thing to the slits on the Force India. I wonder if that's McLaren's way around that.
Yeah, quite possibly. Because, the nostrils that have been on the Force India for the last 2 years. And now they've gone for that weird...
For something else, which we'll talk about in a
minute.
Yeah,
we will.
Stingray genitalia.
Yeah, we have a new name for the Force India anyway.
But the aside from that, I mean, is the McLaren really that brave in respect of sort of the progression from last year to this year? If the front wing, it's
the back from the slit on the front wing, like on the front of the nose. The rest of the car looks quite basic.
It's not like it's not so size 0 at the back, is it?
Nope.
The Renault is extremely size 0, and it's a concept, of course, that was brought in by McLaren.
Yeah, Gary Anderson, whose opinion I know you really respect. That was not committal. Yeah, he says it's not a size 0, it's a size 1.
Oh.
It's a size 1. It's not a thing.
According to Gary Anderson, it is.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Yeah,
one.
I mean, it's not the rear of the car is, again, they've gone for the quite square fin on it, haven't they? They haven't gone for like the sling back fin or anything like that. Again, I don't want to bore people by talking about side pod barge boards, but look at the side pod barge boards as well. They are differently shaped. And there's less floor there on the McLaren than there is on other cars.
They have gone for the Ferrari tactic of if there's a surface to bolt something to it.
Yeah, they have. They've made full width of the floor, whereas a lot of cars haven't.
It's using the studio space for the cowbell solo.
Yeah, we haven't got enough cowbell in there. Aside from that, nothing massive to report with McLaren at the moment. There might be something that we've missed or something they haven't bolted on or want to take off yet. The only thing to really note is above the one I'm looking at is a picture of Fernando Alonso's car, and above his number 14 there is that air duct in the nose there as well. That's on a couple of cars, I think, in various different guises. Aside from that, nothing really. I mean, it looks like last year's McLaren looking back from that almost.
Let's just hope it's a step in the right direction.
McLaren didn't have a bad
internally.
car. Yeah, McLaren didn't have a bad car apparently last year, so they're going to live and die for whatever Honda's stuck in the back of it this year.
Yeah, and they've not got off to the best start.
I see a bad year. There's just something about it all. There's something's amiss. Do you know what I mean?
And I hope you're wrong.
Oh no, I hope I'm wrong, but I just get that feeling that something's missing.
Yeah, you can't put your finger on what it is, but it's not right.
In the same way with Ferrari last year. There's just something where you go and like someone needs to sit down and sort this shit out. Yeah.
I mean, don't forget, McLaren, obviously, like Ferrari, they've had their own management struggles, and that's going to have affected the design team. More so than Ferrari, because everything had to go through Ron. Yeah. And you've now got all the McLaren engineers and design team having to stand on their own 2 feet and not be micromanaged. Yeah. And they've been chucked into the swimming pool, and they've had their armbands taken off them.
Speaking of Ron Dennis, he's took his evil leadership one step further, and he's took a job with the British Military of Defence, Ministry of Defence, even.
Right. Okay.
Is he not still head of McLaren as a group?
No. He was ousted, gone.
He's still got shares, but he's not allowed to do anything with them apart from sell them.
Yeah, but he's basically. just.
I know he was gone completely from the F1 side of things, but I thought he still had a say in the group.
No, McLaren Technology Group has been unronned.
Yeah, but no, it was announced today he took a job with the British Ministry of Defence.
We're all doomed, I tell you.
Absolutely.
Ron Dennis is going to be in charge of the military, isn't he?
Yeah, we're going to end up with Wales invading England.
Or cyber soldiers. Williams, then, while we're still here.
Fucking hell! Hang on a second. Ron having anything to do with the running of a country is 1984, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Williams, when I was talking before about cars that stretched their 2016 cars to fit the 2017 regulations, I was talking about Williams. They haven't done anything spectacular, really. I can't see anything on that car.
I've seen something.
But I think, you know, when we were talking last week, when we saw the graphic images about them playing it safe, and we thought maybe that was the wrong thing to do, or almost definitely the wrong thing to do. Well, they've gone out and tested today, haven't they, and have been only a couple of tenths slower than Lewis Hamilton. So maybe playing it safe is the right thing to do. But what have you spotted, Lee?
The monkey seat has a wing. They've got like 2 T-wings on their car.
Right, okay.
Really?
Yeah. Their monkey seat has one as well. I've only just noticed it, and I'm turning the laptop round to show you guys.
And I can't put Williams' pictures up because they haven't given us photo access yet.
So, So underneath the rear wing, where you have the monkey seat,
there is a T-wing.
A T-wing on top of the monkey seat.
Now that is different. But it could that if that's the only change on it, and they are fast and they are stable,
maybe playing it safe is the right thing to do.
Yeah. So sometimes don't take risks.
Aside from that, it's the same Williams shape that we've become used to pretty much 2014.
They've got a very nice front wing. There's a lot of elements on that.
Yeah. Of course, like front wings have had to be redesigned, but the rest of the car and the shape as a total, it's the 2014 Williams, which then evolved into the 2015 Williams, which then evolved into the 2016 Williams, and we're changing the regs for 2017. Well, just the same car will stretch it out to fit the regs.
Yeah, one thing that I have noticed about the Williams is they have, and again this is the throwback to the last sort of 3 years, they've carried on with the shallower nose angle rather than the big slope of the Ferraris. Or going back to the days of the Platypus, like Force India have done.
Well, yeah, I was going to say
it's a very shallow drop off again.
Yeah, well, if you're talking about drop off noses, may as well move up to the next team on the grid.
Oh,
because we are. I think if we unanimously deciding that the Toro Rosso is the best looking car on the grid for 2017, I think we can almost be unanimous in that Force India is the worst looking car on the grid for 2017.
It looks horrendous.
The drop off on the nose after
it's got the big ramp and a steep slope. It's got the Stingray genitalia.
Yeah, they've substituted the nostrils for what looks like Stingray genitalia.
Yeah, so in that case, it's not the VJ-M10, it's the VJJ.
So what's positive then about the Force India? Looking at it, aesthetically or interestingly wise,
it's positively but ugly.
It is, but there must be something on there that you see that you quite like, or
it seems to look
wider.
It seems to look fatter than the other cars.
It looks. The only way to describe the overall look of it is cumbersome.
I don't like the fin. The fin is. I know it's a square fin.
It's got the big square fin.
Hackney.
Yes. Actually, no. Going by that picture, JJ Letter. Yeah, it's got the big square fin. The nose is completely ungainly. Like I say, it's got the steep ramp. It's angled.
It's got barge
a
bolts.
lot far down. I mean, the other name that Lee, I think you coined Fork India for the nose.
Yeah.
Fork India.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a 3-pronged nose,
and it's ugly. And also, just look. The picture I got up here is a sideways on picture with the 2 drivers stood next to the car. How the hell is Esteban Ocon ever going to fit in there? He's a tall lad, isn't he?
Interesting.
There is a lot of him.
How long have they had Johnny Walker sponsorship?
Oh, quite a while, because
was that last year?
I think that came in last year.
Yeah,
Don't forget they used to have McKay.
Yeah, but it's all part of the
So it's all the same group.
Diageo.
Oh, yeah.
Is it
Oh,
Diageo
right,
Group?
okay.
I think it is, yeah.
But no, I'd never noticed Johnny Walker on it before, and I was
Because McLaren lost Johnny Walker sponsorship, and it was
Right.
picked up by Force India because Vijay Mallya is part of the is a shareholder in a group of drinks.
Gotcha. Yeah, like we said before, I don't think there's any need to go back over it because we talked about it when we talked about the cars. I think the testing, they're going to struggle to stay where they are. I think.
Yeah, the only other mildly interesting thing I can point out.
White Mackay isn't made by Diageo. By
Is
the way.
it not?
No, it
Fair
isn't.
enough.
So they have changed booze brands.
Wow.
Look at that rear wing. It is more of a wing than a plank. A lot of the other teams have just gone for a flat plank. I mean, that could just be a sponsorship thing, the particular angle.
Make it stand up and make it
Yeah,
show
yeah,
more.
yeah.
Give it
If
an
you-
extra element.
If you look at the rear wing assembly as well, there's two trailing sideways wings behind the main panels, behind the main elements, which adding that to, from the looks of things, one of the biggest shark fins on the grid. There's a whole lot of lateral profile to the car, one strong side wind, and is that going to throw the aero out completely? Is that going to make it undrivable?
I don't know. To Adrian Newey seemed to think that those fins stabilise the car with under crosswind. So
It just looks.
I mean,
I don't
it
know,
is ugly, but I mean, Force India won't care if it's fast, will they?
no.
No, they've got the most. They are the team with the most to lose this year, I would say.
Yeah.
They've got up to fourth, commented about challenging, moving up and maybe getting third. They have a fight on their hands to retain fourth, and bring on the battle, I say, because let's see plenty of battles the whole length of the field this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There should be 9 teams fighting for points, and Sauber. But yeah, the car it doesn't do it for me. There's something about the way that the car looks that is blocky. Is the only way I can describe it. Too square to be aerodynamic.
Functional.
Yeah, functional but not fast.
Yeah. So let's move up one more team.
Moving up, we have the Ferrari next.
Until the launch of the Toro Rosso, I was actually touting the Ferrari as the best looking car on the grid. They don't appear to care much for cooling. The little small, differently shaped side pods on this Ferrari. Front wing, again, different to last year's is going to be because there's a little bit more to it.
Huge barge boards behind the front wing, or certainly are on the demonstration. Obviously, painting them white shows them up more.
Yeah, and the nose is a lot lower than the top part of the nose where it comes up to the drive is actually a lot lower than it was last year.
It also has a shorter, steeper nose profile than a lot of the other cars on the grid, because it seems like the nose starts the slope a lot later, so it runs a lot steeper down to the wing.
And their rear wing is looks a lot further slung back than a lot of other cars as well.
Yeah, it's retro looking, is that rear wing?
It is. I mean, the whole car looks pretty good, to be quite honest with you. The fake paint on the fin as well to make it look like the airbox goes down later than it does. The actual shape of the airbox is a lot.
Yeah,
It was a lot earlier,
they sort of camouflaged it with the team logo.
Yeah.
Which clever move.
I'm loving the way that the sides of these rear wings have this like curve into them, into the bodywork. I think it looks really nice.
Like the kink sort of halfway down.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe to make way for the rear wheels.
But it just looks really aggressive, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
I really like it.
that was the whole
That's where-
purpose of the regulations this season, to make the cars look aggressive.
That's the one of the things the actual angle I like looking at the cars from. The best is from behind. they just look wider, lower slung. You know, they look faster, whether they are or not.
Yeah,
they seem to be faster around corners, but
the Ferrari have definitely not gone for the size 0 or even the size 1 back end.
no, they haven't. They've gone for like for the quite wide back end, and as I said about physics, it's all to do with engine placement and gearbox placement.
If they've placed for the centre of gravity.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they've placed that, engine a little bit further, if they've thrown away a little bit of balance for extra power, that's a very Ferrari thing to do.
Yeah.
Then that could see them in good stead in races where. Monza, for example. Let's go for one win this season and have it at Monza.
They've got like little extra winglets as well on the barge boards, like little U-shaped winglets.
Oh yes, I can see that.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah, it's like I said, there is that much in the way of aero.
I haven't seen that much aero on a Formula One car since 2008. Or so,
2008 before they insisted on simplifying it.
Yeah.
They have really gone to town with, like I say, if you find a space, stick a vane on it.
Wings on top of wings.
Yeah.
So who have we got next?
Next up, we have the Red Bull, the RB13, which everyone thought they wouldn't call it the 13, with 13 being an unlucky number, but
they did anyway.
Apparently it's not in Austria. I don't know what to make of this.
The most important thing to look at is that snout, isn't it? The open hole at the front of that.
It's also very flat and wide, isn't it? Very, very like a Daffy Duck almost.
Yeah. Well, Adrian Newey said earlier on it's to get the aerodynamic impression of having a higher nose without actually having a higher nose.
Yeah, I'm guessing the purpose of the hole is to neutralise the airflow at the bottom of it and just concentrate on the airflow at the top. So that
it's fucking Adrian. You have no idea.
All I know is he will have sat there with a pencil.
Yeah.
And designed the hell out of it. It's Adrian Newey. There's a damn good chance it's going to work.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
looks a bit like a drinks can though.
One of the limited edition matte finish ones.
Yeah,
could be.
But also gone for the Renault sort of style, disappearing back end behind those side pods, just like sweep it away to nothing.
And talking of the side pods, they to me now again this could be down to delivery, but they to me look like some of the biggest that are on there, the actual inlets. Everyone else seems to have gone for sort of flat profiled ones. The
Red Bull's quite open.
Yeah, the intakes on the Red Bull appear to be a lot open and a lot wider.
I think they're quite uniform this year.
I don't know. Take a look at the Ferrari. They are sort of flat triangular ones. These are sort of huge, gaping D-shaped ones.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, and again with the fin, something's going to happen with that.
Cleverly disguised by the actual bull, and then just a flat bit of blue behind it. But again, not the first time we've seen fins. Not the last time we'll see them either. Part of Formula One in 2017, by the looks of things.
Yeah. Although the team said that they didn't want them,
and they were told tough.
Yeah. The strategy group said we don't want them, and
the cars would look a lot nicer without them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Mercedes running without the fin looked great.
Mm.
No Rosberg joking intended.
Or Bottas.
He's not. Is he Finnish? What is he?
Rosbergian. We've had the national anthem and everything. Apparently the F1 Commission knocked it back, even though the strategy group and the team said it'll happen, it'll look bad.
Which leaves us with what? One car, the Mercedes WOB?
The Mercedes WOB, the W08. Which
Can't WOB.
Which, thanks to my bad eyesight when I first saw it launched, I thought it said WOB. Which I thought was a strange name for a car.
They've gone all dubstep.
Yeah.
WOB. Maybe that's why it's called that. Maybe Lewis had a
maybe Lewis's R&B influence in there. They've got Drake to name it.
It's actually called the Mercedes W08 EQ Power Plus.
Well, it's obviously going to win because it's got plus the power.
Yeah, it's mental, isn't it? In that name, but it's What do we think of the Mercedes?
I don't know because it all looks very clever.
My first impression is very flat.
How far back are those rear wheels as well? They look a lot further back
the
than anyone
wheelbase
else.
Wing as well
huge.
looks lower and it's
Like that, those rear wheels are at least half that wheel length further back than anyone else. Or is it just the way that they've built the car makes it look like that?
It's Mercedes. It could be either. Undoubtedly, it looks fast.
It looks like as well the way they've got the Petronas going across the car and the that sort of veiny green now. You know what I mean? Like it's like paint strokes, isn't it?
Yeah.
That appears to be hiding various like bargeboard elements. Because like the bit in front of like the side bit that comes off, like the like I don't know what you call them, like the big barge boards that attach to the top of the
Side pod barge boards.
Yeah. In front of those, if looking from the angle I've got it here, it appears that there's two elements then to the barge boards in front of that.
Yeah.
And I to me that looks like they're trying to hide that with the colour scheme.
Quite possibly, yeah. I think I'm looking at.
I'm looking at a top-down photo, and you can sort of see it there. That in front of the barge board, there's like a couple of extra elements.
Yeah.
So from the picture from the top sort of shows that. Again, not really going with a size 0 back end. It's narrow, but it's not size 0.
I suppose with the whole idea of the cars being wider now, they don't have to be size 0 because the whole idea of trying to tuck everything in together was to get everything small and compact. But if the cars have to be wider at the back anyway,
If they've got more space to play with, then you can put more space in there, and that's obviously going to help the cooling
and get your centre of
and
gravity.
the airflow, the centre of gravity.
But I can't fathom how far back those rear wheels look. I mean, they look like they're following the car. They're just so far back.
I think we can safely say, though, one thing that we were all a bit worried about before the launches was, are all the cars going to look identical, and the only way to tell them apart is the colours?
No.
And I think we can actually say this season, they don't.
No. Patrick Head got that wrong.
Yeah.
Also, if you have a look at the Mercedes, and I think we didn't really touch on it with the Red Bull, but if you have a look at the Mercedes as well, slits in the floor behind the side pods.
Yeah. The Mercedes and the Red Bull have both got those. The rear gills,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Mercedes, of course, following the same sort of suspension thing as Toro Rosso as we talked about before.
Yeah. Now we did.
Even so, just quickly, even with a different engine as well, the more things that tie with the Toro Rosso and the Mercedes is that they've both gone for that like a 3-element air intake.
Yeah.
There's like a triangle at the beginning at the top, in the middle of it. Illuminati confirmed, and it splits it into 3 elements. I find that interesting, given the fact they've got 2 different engines.
Talking about the suspension.
Yeah.
What has come up actually this afternoon during testing is McLaren are going to be going for the new controversial suspension system as well that Mercedes and Red Bull are going to be using.
I wonder if they're going to go for a controversial approach of trying to finish some laps.
Don't be silly.
That's the next step. Whether they get there before Australia or not.
Now, unfortunately,
To finish first you have to start.
Yes.
This could be famous last words. This is from McLaren's technical chief, Matt Morris.
We won't win the first race, but we might win the last.
It's even worse than that.
Oh, good Lord.
We have a system that we believe is legal. Famous last words? Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows?
No, I don't know. So that's the cars.
Yeah.
That is the first day of testing sorted.
And we don't want to get too boring and go into too much detail, so...
No, because there's nothing else to talk about, really.
We've just gone into detail on the cars and the testing for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm going to go all war games here. Shall we play a game?
Yes.
Oh, we're going to
Chris.
play a game.
Get your guitar. This has now become a new feature.
Oh, hold on a second.
We had Liam Gallagher last week.
We're smoothly going into this.
Chris has had a request this week. If
Warning, terrible impression coming
Yeah.
out because I'm not great at this person.
if you have any requests for who one of us singing the Who's a Total Shunt theme tune should sound like, because me and Dan have been known to warble as well occasionally, and both me and Dan have guitars available. So we'll work out who can do an impression. But if you've got any requests for an impression for the Who's a Total Shunt theme song, let us know. But Chris,
This one came from Luke Nipper on Twitter, and he suggested that I do Kermit the Frog. Now I try and do Kermit, but occasionally it becomes Dr. Nick Riviera from The Simpsons. So
Get on with it.
this is going to be interesting.
so let's play a game.
Hey everybody, it's time for my favourite part of the show. Who's a total shunt? Who's total shunt? Who's a total shunt? Who's a total shunt? Who's a total shunt? Who's a total shunt?
That was much better than you build it up to build it down to be.
Well, I'm not great at Kermit. On with the game.
On with the show.
No talking about last week's episode.
No, right. We have. I first of all the facts fact checked.
Fact checked.
Checked.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Twice?
Twice.
Did you go on a
Yeah.
fact hunt?
Yeah. Second,
Hashtag shunt, yes.
new rules. You must guess a guess. You have 3 guesses. Yeah.
Yeah, you must guess a guess before.
You must guess once on question 3. You must guess again
On question 6.
on question 6, and then you must guess, obviously, on the last question.
10.
Be it 10, 12, or 13.
Alright, so how many
Yeah,
is there this time?
There is 11 today.
Is that 10 and a spather, or is it just 11?
I think they're all good ones. I must admit, after Paul going rogue last week,
And getting the right answer, even though
this
you've
is
got the wrong question.
This is a toughie. Yeah, I'm not.
This one's a toughie.
Yeah.
Right, go on then, let's
I
go
think
for
this
it.
is a toughie. I have an equally famous brother.
An equally famous brother.
Right. Okay, so...
Racing brothers, Ralph and Michael Schumacher.
yeah,
okay,
it's not
Michael.
going to be that obvious.
No, Michael and Ralph are not as equally as famous as each other, are they?
No, one of them won races, the other one was called Ralph.
Yeah.
I think we can rule those out. Right, there's been lots of Andrettis.
Name not brothers though, have there? Mario and Michael. Michael was Mario's son.
Yeah, but there was Jeff,
Jeff Andretti, I don't remember him.
who was Mario's brother.
It sounds like you've made an Andretti up.
No, I'm pretty sure Jeff Andretti was Mario's brother.
All right, I'll trust you on that one.
Right, now there was...
Did anyone else just see a blue flash in the room?
No.
I'm going mental.
Okay. Emerson Fittipaldi's brother
Christian Fittipaldi.
formed a team. The Copper Sugar team that Emerson Fittipaldi went to drive for, and they turned out to
Was
be...
Christian Fittipaldi Emerson's son
Or nephew.
or nephew?
Yeah.
Something like that. Right, so we've got brother. We're not going to get it from the
We're
first
not going
clue.
to get it from the first clue, but we...
I have an equally famous. So we're looking for someone equally famous.
I began racing in 1992.
Began racing in 1992.
Okay, so that rules out both of my
The
suggestions.
Fittipaldis and the Andrettis. Began racing in 1992. Somebody who has an equally famous brother.
And
began racing in
the
1992.
90s.
Mm.
And then we've only got one more clue left before we have to do the first guess. Yeah, this could be... Stop playing with scratch cards.
Ralph Schumacher is the only one I can think of at the moment. But he's not equally as famous as Michael, let's be honest.
No. Not by a long way. Usually about 6 places behind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Started racing in 1992. All right, that could be anybody. I mean, it could be we could be looking at somebody, because if that's a lower Formula thing, you'd be looking at getting to Formula One around about late 90s,
Yeah.
which would tie in with Ralph.
But
But might not be Formula One. Might be motorsport in general.
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I think go for clue 3.
I dated a princess.
I dated a princess. Wow.
Yeah, we've got to throw a guess in on this one, haven't we? Bloody hell.
Somebody who dated a princess.
Yeah. I'm guessing.
Italian brothers.
Just trying to think that Stephanie and Caroline, the Monaco princesses, they used to be seen with various people. Didn't
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
But who? And who has an equally famous brother? Okay, I'm going to rule out John Surtees. I think he'd finished racing by about then. Oh God.
We've got no other suggestions. So should we guess Ralph, even though it's not?
Yeah, we're gonna have to throw that one out there, aren't we?
I'm
Yeah.
not Ralph Schumacher.
We didn't think
you were.
I am not a Formula One driver.
Right, so not in Formula One.
Okay, so Ralph Schumacher is still technically in the mix. Not a Formula One driver, so we're going to be looking at something.
Bikes, perhaps.
DTM, GT racing.
Yeah.
Something. Oh God. Wonder if Alex Caffey's got a brother who's equally as not famous as he is.
Possibly. Who knows? Yeah, this is a really, really hard one.
This is yeah.
There would be brothers in rallying. I'm thinking of perhaps.
I can't think of any. I know.
Colin and Alistair McRae, although Alistair's not as he's not the same as Ralph Schumacher, is he? He's not quite as famous as Colin.
One.
Yeah, he's
bit of a Ken.
Yeah, and we were looking for an equally famous brother, I think, is what we're going for here.
Yeah, and you never got Alistair McRae's dirt.
Ooh, in bikes, there are in MotoGP there are two brothers who race for different teams, I think.
It's not going to be the Espargaros because they're way too young to started racing in 1992.
This is true.
Unless they were like racing tricycles or something, or scooty puffs or something.
Yeah. All right, we'll go for another clue.
Before I raced, I had a job in construction.
That's not really helping me, I don't think.
No, I'm nowhere. I'm like, Dan, come back.
I must say, like every thing I'm giving you here is a hint. Everything is good.
Everything is good because
yeah, there's nothing to throw you off. There's nothing there. Everything is there for a reason.
People who are construction workers tend to go racing, tend to ride road racing motorbikes, or go into rallying.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. It's probably not a Dunlop.
Well, it could be. That's the thing.
When did Roberts start?
But earlier than that, a lot
Yeah.
earlier than that.
Because I mean, Joey was around in the 70s. So,
Yeah.
And dated a princess? No, he probably drove an Austin Princess.
Possibly.
And it's too old. Yeah, it's too old for the current round of Dunlops.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 6 next, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go for another. Gonna have to go for another one on
Go on then, Lee.
Let's go.
I had a movie made about me.
Oh. Right.
That would point in the direction of Joey Dunlop, but
He started racing
a
well
lot
before
earlier than that.
1992. Oh, hang on. Sorry, William Dunlop was the.
No, William's
William's
Robert's son. William and Michael are...
Yeah, William and Michael are
Yeah.
brothers, and it's Robert, isn't it? 'Cause, I mean, Road was about sort of, well, the Dunlop dynasty practically, wasn't
Pretty
it?
much, yeah. So, right, okay, I think we can rule that out then, for now. Started racing in 92, so we're going to look at somebody who was perhaps racing bikes. As an equally famous... That's the thing that's getting me. He's got an equally famous brother.
I must remind you, I think I want an answer from after this clip.
Yeah, you do. Just trying to...
Tim Vine and Jeremy Vine are brothers.
They are. I don't think either of them have raced very much.
No, I don't think so either.
Tim Vine is the funnier of the two.
Yeah.
He would be being a comedian.
What about the... I'm thinking like maybe British Touring Car brothers.
I can't think of any offhand. Just to clarify, we are looking for somebody who is involved with racing racing was their main thing at a point, and they weren't racing.
I don't believe that's a hint.
We got to give
We've got to give an answer.
answer. I'll let you take this one.
All right, I'm going to throw Robert Dunlop out there.
I'm not Robert Dunlop.
No, I didn't think it was.
Yeah.
My girlfriend has been kidnapped.
My girlfriend has been kidnapped.
As in past tense, as in the course of
Yeah.
time, it has happened.
Right, so who would have been dating Bernie Ecclestone's mother-in-law?
I'm Bernie Ecclestone.
Oh God.
This is a toughie. Lee's
This
right.
is yeah. We're saying it's tough. We'll probably end up kicking us. We'll either kick ourselves or go who?
Or me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's more than likely.
Yeah, I'm thinking because we haven't really had any.
There's nothing to narrow
Motorsport.
it down. No.
No, that's the thing. We don't know what thingy of motorsport we're looking at.
No. And that makes it harder. We're gonna have to go for number 8.
Here we are.
Number 8.
Oh, well, that is the next one, isn't it?
Yes. I'm synonymous with the colour red.
Synonymous with the colour red.
Well, that's the name of the band that me and you used to be in.
Yeah.
I'm not either of you.
That wasn't a guess.
All right. So red. You're looking at Ferraris,
Yeah.
Alfa Romeos.
McLarens, up to a point.
Not if you started racing in '92.
Yeah.
Ducati.
That is right. So it's we're along the lines of something. We're veering towards Italian territory here, aren't we?
I think so.
Would you like-
Not necessarily an Italian person, but
Or someone with connection to an Italian
to an
team.
Italian team.
I will help you out here. Would you like another clue?
Yes.
Yes.
I am Italian.
So I said Italian to start with Italian with an equal.
Try and drag this fucking train back on the rails.
Yeah.
We've been off the rails since show 1. This is show 90. Actually, no, since show -2. And this is show 94. Oh God. So somebody Italian started in 92. Dated a princess who may or may not have been kidnapped.
It might not be the princess that got
Yeah,
kidnapped.
that's what I'm saying. The princess may or may not have been kidnapped. God.
Synonymous with the colour red. That's the one that's getting me, because we're not looking at like Valentino Rossi I don't think he had an equally famous brother. He's not synonymous with the colour red.
Francis out of status quo. And Rossi means red.
Yeah, well, yeah, Rosso, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Italian rally drivers, I can't think of any. Italian... No, we need another clue, sorry, Lee.
I have my own racing series.
Jonathan... No.
I have my own
where's
racing
Ginger?
series. God, this has stumped me completely because...
Who's got their own racing series?
Formula de Cesaris.
This is all your questions now.
Formula
and you have a
Briatore.
Spaffer question next.
I think we're going to have to, aren't we?
Well, I'm nowhere near where we need to be because I've got no idea what discipline in motorsport they took part in. So
Yeah. Go on.
I have lent my name to more than one video game.
Tom Clancy.
I am international spy, Tom Clancy.
Rainbow Six.
There's red in the rainbow.
I do know he's North.
Oh God.
Technically, you should have had to give me a guess, really, on the 10th, but here we are.
Well, you did say the last one.
Well,
and that was the last one. And you cheated.
Was that the last one? Was it?
Yeah.
Oh right, I have no
Oh
idea.
God.
Have I beaten yous? Are you done?
Yeah, because I've no idea.
I've got nothing.
Hit me with a brother. Hit me with your best shot.
Stuart Briatore.
I am not Stuart Briatore.
I don't think he's really called that.
I shall run you down the questions I gave. I always write them down in a order and give you them in a different order depending on how we go. And what I give you them in an order that I think will help you. So I'll run down the questions because I never had to do this.
Listeners
before.
have probably got this ages ago.
Yeah.
If you have, fucking fair fucking play to you.
Especially, I'm looking at Nick Patakis for this one if he's listening.
I genuinely think everybody in the world knows who this person is.
Except us.
Everybody in the world will know who this person is.
Go for it.
I have an equally famous brother.
Yes.
I began racing in 1992. I dated a princess. Before racing, I had a job in construction. I am Italian. I have my own racing series. My girlfriend was kidnapped. I have a movie about me. I am synonymous with the colour red. I have lent my name to more than one video games. I am Mario from Super Mario Brothers and Super Mario Kart fame.
Well, there you go.
You're a git.
In honour of my Nintendo Switch that's on its way.
Well, we'd never have got that.
I genuinely thought you would have got it. I thought you'd have had it with My Girlfriend Was Kidnapped. And that's why I put for the last question, I have lent my name to more than one video game.
No, nowhere near.
Hashtag you shunt. That was evil.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Did you say you had another game for us tonight, Lee? Or...
No, I just meant I had another game as in that.
Was that the game?
Ah, right.
Right. Mailbag.
Let's do the mailbag.
Mailbag. We have been absolutely inundated with emails, tweets, Facebook comments, Facebook messages, Instagram comments. Thank you so much. We do try and read everything that comes in. I think we usually succeed. And got some of the best ones here. Brett Howard.
Mainly on the cars, aren't they? Let's be honest.
Mainly on the cars. But Brett Howard from Georgia, USA, or across the pond, as he says, he was trying to work out what the chassis designations mean for some of the teams. He'd got a few, but he was stuck on Sauber, Renault, Mercedes, and Haas. Some of them are fairly obvious. Force India VJM is
Vijay Mallya,
not VJJ as it is now for
Sauber, the C.
Sauber, the C. That's
We've discussed that already.
Yeah, that's Peter Sauber's wife, Christine. Renault RS, Renault Sport,
Renault Sport. That's
or
how,
Renault Sportif.
I think it's Renault, isn't it? Renault Sport.
It's Renault Sportif in French.
Okay, fine.
They've gone for RS because it's the same initials if it's in English or French.
Yeah.
Mercedes with the W. I did a little bit of digging for this, but
Doesn't that go back to their original 50s Formula 1 cars?
no, it goes a lot further back than that. Mercedes have had an internal catalogue number starting with W on every vehicle that they've produced since 1929 with the W02.
Right, okay.
And the W actually stands for Wagen, German for car. So every Mercedes, be it a road car or a race car, has been a W something.
Yeah.
And the W08 is it's their 8th season back in F1.
Well, it's a Mercedes AMG
Mercedes
F1.
AMG F1 8th entry.
Yeah.
And that's why it's W. I actually didn't know that until this week.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, I thought W went back to when they had cars around in the 50s, so it's nice to know it goes back even further
Yeah,
than that.
1929 to the second car that Mercedes-Benz actually did after Mercedes-Benz formed from the merger of Mercedes and Benz.
I thought it was
yeah,
W because they're
Daimler-
really
Daimler-
fast.
Daimler-Benz.
Daimler Benz and Mercedes, yeah. And it's actually the company's still called Daimler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Or Daimler.
Daimler AMG Chrysler Mercedes
Something like that.
Chevrolet Gary. Ferrari F or SF, yeah, okay. McLaren MCL32, that is, of course, they can't use the MP4 anymore because the MP4
Yeah,
was
so MCL
the
McLaren,
wrong,
we're
so
guessing.
McLaren. Williams FW, Frank Williams.
Frank Williams, the founder of the team.
Toro Rosso and Red Bull, fairly easy. STR for
Scuderia Toro Rosso.
and Red Bull.
Yeah.
And the one I had another one that Brett didn't know that I had to look up. Haas
VF.
VF. This comes from the first CNC machine that Haas Engineering ever made, which was the
What's a CNC machine?
It's an engineering.
It's an engineering tooling machine
yeah.
thing.
A doofer.
A doofer.
Yeah, that sort of cuts metal.
Yeah.
Which was the VF1, and the V stands for vertical mill. And but Gene Haas decided that it was the very first one, so he called it the VF1, and he's carried on the VF to the Formula 1.
Ah.
Although, I have an alternative theory on this. It stands for virtually a Ferrari.
Yes. That'll do. Virtually a Ferrari 17. Yeah, it's a... Don't try to follow Ferrari's naming of chassis either, because they don't ever stick to a formula. And what are they? This year they're the SF70H.
Yeah.
Last year there was the SF16.
Yeah.
H. And before that it was the SF Scuderia Ferrari 15T. Then before that it was SF14T. And then it was the F412 or something like ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no sense to how Ferrari do
It depends
things.
who's in charge at the time.
It's the year 17, and instead of putting 17 in the number, they put 70 in it instead. SF70.
Well, they're just being bell ends, aren't they?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Stop trying to guess our chassis name. We're going to change it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good one that I quite enjoyed.
Yeah. Never try and outguess a Ferrari manager.
No.
It will only hurt.
What else we got?
What we got? One that came in earlier today from, and I'm going to use the English translation of his name because I'm crap at pronouncing Dutch names, but he always signs off Peter Cousins.
Oh, Peter Cousins, Peter
Yeah.
Nieftis or something like that.
Cousins.
Nieftis.
Cousins.
Hello, Peter.
Hi guys, now I know I'm no aerodynamicist, so I don't know what a shark fin actually does, but do you think that with Mercedes choosing to have a much smaller one than all the other teams, the thing will be running in the front and won't have to deal with dirty air?
Ooh,
No,
now that's a
it's not down to the dirty air that's the shark fin, as we found out from what Adrian Newey had to say earlier.
sideways stability, isn't it?
Yeah, sideways stability, but the hole in the top of the one that Lewis put on this afternoon,
Apparently for cooling.
which, as you said, that'll be a bugger if it rains.
No, you said that.
No, you
I said that.
Oh, was it you that
I
said
said that.
One of
But
us said it.
But what you got to think about is if air goes in the airbox at the front,
Water will.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course, and you know, hot air can come out that top of that whale tail, as I think you christened it, Paul.
The whale fin, because it's got a blowhole.
Yeah, and then you.
That's Lewis.
No,
Well,
the
then
whale tail's to go with Lewis's tramp stamp.
All right.
You know he's got one.
possibly, and then you could end up with a heavy rain at a circuit could cause them problems if they've got such a because it's like a funnel then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Funneling water into the engine bay. That looks like a good idea.
It sounds great.
Yeah, no. So yeah, I don't know how long that will last or what Mercedes have done.
I think the top and bottom of it is we don't know whether it's going to have a massive shark fin or not yet.
we know. This is testing, and we don't know
Yeah.
anything until Australia.
Are we gonna see? Do we think, because it's for lateral stability and crosswinds? Are we going to see races where teams don't fit it, and they do? And somewhere they do. If
Maybe.
There's no wind forecast
Well,
for
yeah,
the duration
it's-
of a session.
It's mainly stability of going fast round corners, because these cars are an awful lot faster going around corners, and they're creating their own air resistance. So they're going to want their own stability as well. So I think we'll see it, more on the car than you won't.
I know
Yeah.
what you mean, like Monza, for instance, where because you're in a bowl in Monza, so and it's mainly straight lines.
Yeah.
So they might choose to take it off there with it causing more drag.
Possibly.
Could well be.
So yeah,
So it's lateral forces.
yeah. The difference there would be Spa, where there's such a big circuit, and you will get crosswinds all over the place. So
Well, with Spa being as big as it is, you get different weather systems on different parts of the
Yeah.
track. Some teams want a second pit halfway around just in case it's throwing it down at one end of the circuit and not at the other. I had a message earlier from Rowan Baldock, a new patron. Signed up tonight. Thanks,
Thank you,
Rowan.
Rowan. Thank you very much.
Couldn't mention that in the Patreon podcast because you actually signed up between us recording that and us recording this.
oh, you just got yourself a free podcast.
We'll talk about
Well,
Patreon.
free, not
Yeah,
free.
Not
Just
free.
giving us money.
Not free. He's paying for it.
You just bought a podcast.
Yeah, and a postcard.
You support yourself an extra podcast.
Paperwork going in next week, by the way. We'll have this business sorted.
Oh, great.
I just need to get some signatures up you guys, by the way.
Yeah, no problem.
Which we will do next week. We'll have a signing ceremony.
I shall give you my finest.
Can we do a really
ex.
cringeworthy Nico Toto style video for it?
I think we have to.
We
now.
have to, don't we? It's got to be a group hug.
Yeah. Can we be naked?
No, stop it. Rowan says, just catching up with the testing highlights on the F1 channel, do you know why there's always a team member with a dictaphone recording what drivers and team members are saying during interviews?
Yeah, they're the press managers.
Yeah, I think that is because they don't want to see anyone misquoted in interviews, so they've got a record of whatever was said.
And they probably then go back to filter down the information and then transcribe it onto the Mercedes website. Putting a press release out.
Yeah, but I think in a lot of cases it's just to make sure that written press
Yeah.
don't misquote the drivers.
Probably.
Make sure that they put all the words in the right order.
Yeah, just in case somebody tries to misquote them and then legal action, this is what he actually said.
Yeah.
Fake news.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure that's what they're going for with that.
Yeah, we've had lots of tweets about the new cars. Let me see. We got a email as well from Andreas Criseliu,
Hello, Andreas.
a fan in Liverpool who is going to make sure that F1 is shown in the departure
Oh,
area
yes.
in Liverpool Airport, because I am always sat there waiting for a plane Brazil Grand Prix weekend.
Yeah.
I've done it for the last 2 years, and I've looked at the calendar. I'll be doing it again this year.
Don't do it.
Shut it. Or make the Wi-Fi free so I can watch it on my tablet.
It'll be funny.
He has given us his rankings from worst to best in terms of liveries.
Okay.
So see if we agree with this. This is just livery based, not design
Go on
of the
then.
actual car. In reverse order: 10th Force India.
Yeah.
Yeah, no argument with that. 9th Mercedes.
Okay.
Yeah. 8th Williams.
Right.
7 Renault. 6 McLaren. 5th Haas. 4th Ferrari. 3rd Red Bull. 2nd Sauber. And his favourite livery is the Toro Rosso.
I'm not a fan of the Sauber livery. It's all right. It's better than last year.
You need yourself some glasses, my friend.
Toro Rosso, I would say definitely.
No.
Toro Rosso's nice. But
the Sauber is just, it's the Ligier all over again.
strikes me as an anti-Lewis fan.
Who's Auntie Lewis? Is that like Total Shunt's brother? Yeah, okay. Zach Henderson.
Hey, Zach.
He sent a tweet in.
Hello, Zach.
He says, #shunt yes.
And?
That's all he says. Because he agrees. I want that point.
Or he just #shunt yes. I think that's a tweet of support.
That is a tweet of support to...
No, to me.
Why is it a tweet of support to you?
It's #hunt yes. As in vote for Shunt, that sort of thing. Shunt, change we need.
Yeah, okay.
Let's make this podcast great again.
Stop it.
Huge podcast.
Yeah,
Huge.
we just want to thank everyone for listening to us, by the way. Last week's episode was the most downloaded one that we've done in the 2 years that we've been doing this, so thank you to everyone that's been listening. And
that's been fantastic.
yeah,
Thank you very
obviously,
much.
hi to all our new listeners, because...
We've got some, obviously.
We've got about 5,000 more than last week.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, like, to everyone that's downloaded the show and is downloading the show and is speaking to us and tweeting us and stuff, like, you're just as big a part of this as we are.
Yeah.
You know, especially you guys that have been with us, like, for instance, the first episode. Like, you know, it's really good, and you show us so much support, and it's really nice.
Yeah, we really do appreciate it.
We do.
Lee, I reckon you should have a stab at answering this question first. It's from Ashley Woodhouse.
Jensen Button.
It's from who?
Ashley Woodhouse on Twitter.
Hello, Ashley.
Would McLaren be better making their own engine instead of the Honda unit? It can't be much worse.
Ask again another couple of weeks.
They built the McLaren P1, which is a hybrid car. I don't see why they don't have the capabilities to build a limited number of power units for their Formula One cars.
They'd only have to build officially 8.
I think
4
the
for each
thing
car.
is,
officially.
Yeah.
they clearly don't think
They
that.
built more than 8 P1s.
Let's face it, you talk about a team with no sponsorship here. So they'd essentially be funneling money into something, building their own engine that they're not getting any money back out of.
No, I know what you mean.
So, yeah, I can't ever see that happening, actually. Especially not. I think if it was going to happen, I think it would have happened when Ron was there.
Yeah. It would have been the kind of project that he would have
Yeah.
been there to oversee, and I don't think he had much interest in doing it.
I'll put my fucking last pound on that. It's been discussed.
Yeah.
You know, it will have been a thing that's been talked about.
I mean, the last, I think the last non-road car manufacturer that was in with their own engine was, I suppose, technically Arrows, when they bought Brian Hart.
Yeah.
Because they stopped having the Arrows Hart engines, it just became Arrows, because Brian Hart was then working for them and still making engines.
Yeah.
But they would have to bring the technology in from outside to be able to do it properly, and they just don't seem to be able to do it with an experienced engine manufacturer.
Yeah.
And I think we just see the same problems that they've been having for the last 2 years, and hopefully not this year.
Yeah.
Just with a different name on the engine, and you'd just be slagging off the McLaren engine rather than the Honda engine.
And the problems would be all internal.
At least they'd know how to fall out with themselves.
Yeah.
That's probably about it for the mailbag, because we've already run to 2 hours and we don't want to keep going on, and it's 20 past midnight.
Sleepy time.
It's sleepy time.
Yeah, it is sleepy time.
But just want to say, if you want to get in touch, you can get us on Twitter at 3 Legs 4 Wheels, or...
I'm at A Total Shunt.
I'm at Flood21.
And I'm at Pablo100. We've got the Facebook page, 3 Legs 4 Wheels. Do a search for that; it'll pop up. Give us a like on Facebook, drop us a comment. You can send us a message on there.
All that.
Email us 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. We've got access to that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we might not be able to read them all out on the podcast, but we certainly read all the ones that get sent to us.
Yeah,
And you really should, now, actually, as you've got, because you probably listen to this on your phone, go to Facebook and find our Facebook page and like the Facebook, because we get lots and lots of comments on Facebook. We get lots of messages.
There's a lot of chat going on as well between listeners. A lot of discussion going on.
Yeah, we have a response rate of 3 minutes, I believe.
We do.
Yeah.
I've had a quiet week at work. That's why.
I think I might have pulled that back here and there as well, because for some reason I end up if I wake up at stupid o'clock in the morning, there's always a message there at some time.
Yeah.
So that's why you'll find someone that one of us will, well, I'll probably respond to you about 5 o'clock in the morning.
And also we've got the Patreon podcast, which is for anyone that wants to donate to us on our Patreon account, just to keep us going in, as I sent the photo out earlier, espresso and throat sweets.
Yeah, and thongs.
Okay.
Yeah, anyone got the tumbleweed with?
Hey, you're not laughing, but they are.
Yeah, that's true. Suitable pause. If you look for us on patreon.com/3legs4wheels, you can donate from as little as $1 a month. That's $1 US. For that, you get an extra podcast. We've got some extra rewards for...
That's an extra podcast every week,
Every
by the way.
week, sorry.
That's an extra half an hour of us talking. We try not to talk about Formula One, anything except.
Yeah.
I think it's the best podcast we do.
You've just done down what we've done for the last 2 hours.
No, I'm just, yeah.
Well, technically the last 2.5 hours, because we had that technical glitch.
And I'm also talking up the bit you pay for.
All right, okay.
But,
I'll shut up then.
Yeah, no, I do. I think we do a good job on the Formula One stuff, but I enjoy talking about other stuff.
Yeah. Well, just as an example, tonight we were talking about TV shows, video games, movies, anything and everything.
Pretty much.
So,
So theoretical physics as well to end with.
oh yeah, there was a bit. Of,
She got pretty deep and dirty.
yeah. We were in a quantum situation.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing you can get on our Patreon podcast.
Computational fluid dynamics at one point.
Yeah.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flow.
I'm having a real problem with fluid dynamics here, and I need to go for a wee. So can we wrap this up?
We better wrap this up. But thanks everyone for listening. Extra thanks to all the patrons for pledging, donating to us. We'll be back next week where we'll look back at the first week's testing, look forward to the second week, find out who the hell's going to be doing what.
Yeah.
And Australia is getting ever closer.
And we'll thank you
Yes,
for giving us thousands more Facebook likes.
Yes, we'll do
Thank
that in
you.
advance.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone that's about to like us, as well as all those that already have.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.